So today we're going to go ahead and replace some rear brakes on a 2010 Acura TSX. I'm going to go through the tools that you need. As you can see, this is not like front brakes. There are going to be a couple special tools here you're going to need to collapse the caliper on the rear brakes. And you can pause at any time here to kind of go over and see what tools I'm doing here. I leave a little subtitle there to let you know what I'm using. This is not going to require a lot of tools, but you will need that specialty square tool that I showed at first, and that's to actually back in the caliper. If you do not have that, you will not be able to collapse the caliper. You won't be able to change the brakes. So make sure you have that tool first. The one that I'm using actually is a universal tool. You saw it was a kind of a cube. It's because it can work on multiple types of brakes, and I suggest getting that one. I purchased mine at Harbor Freight. If you have a Harbor Freight near you, is about $7 or $8. It's not expensive at all. So we're going to go ahead and continue showing you tools here. You don't need an impact wrench. You can do this just using a hand wrench, but I like to use impact because it goes smoother. So here we go. We're gonna go fast here, so you don't have to watch every little boring thing. So we're gonna jack the car up, make sure it's secure. I am not using jack stands. You can use jack stands if you want. I have the front wheels chalked, so it's not going anywhere. But like I said, that is a safety thing that you can either do or not do. So I'm realizing really quick that I have a bad angle here. I'll probably be adjusting the camera shortly, but I'm going to show you what I'm using. I believe that's a 12 millimeter, and that's for the two back bolts that are securing the caliper on. So I'll go ahead and take those two back bolts off the slide. It's a floating caliper type. This is not a drum, obviously. The only difference is that the cylinder that's in there is different, and how it backs in. It doesn't just collapse with pressure. It actually has to be twisted back in. So I'm going to go ahead and take these two bolts out here. And I'm going to show you the bolts. And I'm going to put them down. They're short. They're not actually going through the assembly. They just tie it to the mount. The assembly itself is freestanding, so it kind of floats in there against the disc. So now I'm going to go ahead and there's a couple springs in there. You can use those or not use those. It's not a huge deal. I always find with these back brakes that one side is way more worn than the other, generally because they're also the emergency brake. Sometimes there's a drum assembly inside the actual disc assembly, but I believe in this case it was just this disc. And if you drive around accidentally with your brakes on, you're going to wear your brakes out, and sometimes it won't be visible on the outside, because a lot of times when you check rear brakes, you're going to reach your finger in there and feel how the pad feels on the outside, but sometimes the inside is a little more tricky. So I've gone ahead, I'm going to remove the mount now. There's two bolts in the inside that are holding the mount in, and they're a little tighter. They're going to definitely usually have Loctite on them, so you're going to need to get some more leverage on those to break those loose. So I'm moving the caliper assembly out of the way. You want to either secure it or put it in an area where it's not going to really pull on the pull on the brake line. So I believe that there's something special here. Now I'm just tapping it. So I got my sledgehammer and I'm tapping the end of it. You can go any way you want. You can use the fulcrum or whatever, but just obviously hitting your ratchet with a sledgehammer is not the smartest idea, but in this case I don't really care. On the top one, you'll see I'm using a 17 millimeter wrench instead of using a socket and ratchet, and that's because there's not enough space to get a ratchet in there, so I'm having to use that. And that's actually a not just a solid one, that's actually a ratcheting crescent wrench. So I finally figured out that I gave you guys a bad angle, so I'm going to move in here now and give you a better angle. So I'm going to take out the two bolts, and then I can remove the mount assembly. Should probably sped through this. Okay, there it is. So it's off. And you can see that those rotors are very, very glossy. They've obviously gotten very hot. These ones were making a lot of noise, and it was obviously because someone had driven around with the brakes, the emergency brake applied. So it heats those up really hot, dragging the brakes like that. Okay, so the next part here is I'm going to kind of twist it around a little bit and just make sure there's nothing wrong with the bearing. This is a good time to check that. And now I'm going to use my impact screwdriver here or remove these. This can be tricky sometimes depending on how long it's been since they've been removed. And you don't have to put these screws back in. They're usually just there for assembly purposes when the car's built in the factory, because it's locked down when the wheel's on. It's not going to move. But sometimes these screws can be a real pain in the ass. If you can't, I mean, see, I was able to break that one loose by hand. So it's like you never know with these things, and if you play it wrong and you do that with the screwdriver and you strip it out, you're going to end up having to drill it out, and it really becomes a pain in the butt. So always make sure to have that impact screwdriver to try to help you along there. As always, I'm only going to do one side here. I'm not going to do both sides. And I'm showing you the inside of the rotor, showing you where the galling is, where it's gotten very, very hot because it was scrubbing it. At this point, you can go ahead and clean it. And then actually at this point, I'm actually going to just double check that I have the right part. I'm going to fit it and just take a look, set it off to the side, compare it. And now I'll go ahead and clean. Always spray off new rotors, because they usually have assembly grease on them or some kind of preservative to keep them from rusting, some kind of anti-rust agent. So you want to go ahead and spray as much as possible, get all that off. Rule of thumb, you're going to need 1 to 2 cans of brake cleaner per side. That's usually the rule of thumb. If they're really dirty, definitely 2 cans per side, because you just want to clean this up. Anything that adds additional friction to these brakes is going to cause noise. So make sure to there's nothing loose or anything left on there. Now you want to match the holes up. There's the 2 screw holes where the screws were. Just make sure you match them up where it was. Don't just slide the rotor back on there. So I'm reapplying the screws. Like I said, you don't have to. I just do it because I have them and I didn't damage them, so you might as well put them back on. It's not going to hurt anything. So I'm going to go ahead and put those back on there. We're not to the more difficult part here yet, where we had I actually found out that these were those calipers, the type of calipers that needed a special tool, and when I took them off. So actually, there was one point in this video where I went to the store real quick and grabbed the tool to do it. I used to have one. I just everyone's dumb and loans their tools out and they never come back. So that's pretty much what happened to me on that. So I've cleaned up the mount assembly. As you can see, there's metal bushings in there. You want to grease those. Anywhere there's contact between the brake pad and the assembly, you want it to be greased because you want it to slide smoothly. And not a lot of grease. You don't have to go crazy with it. Mainly, you just want to make sure you're not getting heavy metal contact between 2 parts, because that also can translate into squealing or noise coming from the brakes. So, and I just use basic grease. I'm not using anything special. I've used all the special stuff, and I figured out this it doesn't make any difference. This is just as good, and it's to get it started. As long as you don't pressure wash your brakes. Remember that too. A lot of people don't realize that when you pressure wash your brakes, if there was any grease in these in the bushings, you just sprayed it out. So that's one thing to keep in mind when pressure washing your cars. That's probably one place you want to do it. Okay, so you see how I'm doing this, and I'm doing it by hand. I'm just going to twist it, and it's just going to walk the cylinder back in there. And you just want to be careful. And mainly, it's not. I'm making this look easy, but it's not as easy as it looks. You have to press in. See, there it went. I slid off, and just be very patient with it, because you don't want to slide off and tear the little rubber areas around the cylinder, because then you take the chance you're going to get dirt in there or it's going to leak. So there's the tool. I use the 4-sided part of it. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and start reassembling here. Anytime you put the caliper mount assembly back on, always use Loctite for the part, not the outside parts. Those are slides on the inside where it mounts to the car, because that's where the most vibration is going to happen, and you want to make sure that they're on there really good, because you don't want that backing out on you. I always take the slides out and clean them, especially if you pull them out and they're black. So you want to just take it out and clean it. You can do as much cleaning with this as you want, because you can just re-grease it, stick it back in there. If you pull it back out, it's dirty, clean it again, do the same thing, repeat, rinse and repeat. And but generally, if the car's newer, you can just do it once. And when you put it back in there, you got to be careful not to get air caught in it. As you can see, I just kind of let the air out of it so it doesn't leak as much. So same thing. Go ahead and clean it. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, and you want to look on them too. You'll see there's heat galling, super galling, on there, and you'll know if there was a heat issue, because that usually means that the brakes were applied way too much. And you can replace these bolts if you really feel like there's a problem with them. So same thing, squeeze the air out of it, and then make sure it moves smoothly. Mainly, this is what's going to keep your brakes from sticking. This is going to keep them from what's going to cause them to drag. So that little extra step there will, pay back in dividends later. All right, so I'm getting ready here to go ahead and reinstall this assembly. I don't know why I'm going back and forth. I think I'm explaining that the metal bushings, you need to make sure they're secure, because sometimes they feel like they're locked in, they're really not. And that's why, like I said, one side at a time. You can always go back to the other side and look if you get confused or you feel like something's not right. I'm using blue Loctite here, so this is the strong stuff. You want to assemble it pretty quickly. Oh, look at that! Look at that! That's a good angle. I forgot I even did this. It's been a while since I shot this video. I've just been really busy. I've been working a lot, so I wanted to do a voiceover, because when I first reviewed this video, the audio was terrible. So doing the voiceover is probably the better way to do this. All right, so there we go. You want to start screwing in both sides. And you can see, I mean, this is, you'll see the top bolt, and then why, well, I guess not, I cut back. Every time you touch it or you get fingerprints or anything on the rotor, make sure to go ahead and spray it off again, because you don't want any grease, like I said. Same thing here. Now we got the pads. These are just Duralast pads from AutoZone, nothing special. These are rear brakes. 15% of your brake force comes from the rear. They're not as high priority as your front. So I wouldn't suggest paying an arm and a leg for back brakes. It's not worth it. So I'm going to go ahead and slide this in there. Always make sure to make note of what brake pad was the front, which one was the back, because sometimes you'll get confused and try to slide the wrong pad onto the wrong side. And I think I'm putting this on wrong. Yeah, there you go. See how easy that happens? I mean, it's not hard to do, especially when you're shooting video while doing this. It sometimes messes you up, and I've had that happen to me several times, where I'm more worried about not hitting the camera than paying attention to what I'm doing. So it's, like I said, you got to always kind of have your 100% attention on what you're doing. There we go. So make sure that goes the right way. So like I said, if you're forcing something, you're probably doing it wrong. So generally, as soon as you feel something not go right, stop what you're doing, kind of take another look at it and make sure that it's going the way you think it's supposed to go, versus keep pressing or forcing it in, because you can get in real trouble. So I'm having a little trouble here, because the bushings almost have like kind of a spring assembly in them. So I think you have to press the top in first, and then the bottom slides in. And then that's how they go, because otherwise you're going to fight it all day long. See, I'm still having trouble with this. Where's the issue? I'm trying to remember back here when I did this, the issue. No, it was it. So you want to press the top in first and then slide the bottom in. All right, so that's how it looks all assembled. You see that back top bolt where I was talking about, where you need the ratchet, or not the ratchet, I'm sorry, the crescent wrench instead. So I'll be able to tighten this by hand. You can be it all fancy and bust out the torque wrench, but generally muscle it on, and that'll be enough. I mean, if you have good mechanics feel, you can feel when it's where it's supposed to be. See, now I've realized I can't tighten with that one, so I'm going to bring out the crescent wrench and go ahead and tighten that side up as well. And always double check these. I mean, even after you're done, go back and check bolts, especially if you're a novice and you don't do this very often. It is always good to just stop and double check things. Okay, so I'm going to drop back on the caliper assembly, and it's just going to slide on. If you've collapsed your caliper properly, it should just slide right on there. If it doesn't, that means you need to back the caliper in a little bit farther. All right, so I'm going to take the two back bolts. Do not use Loctite on these top bolts. These bolts do not need Loctite. Tightening them up generally is enough way to go. I believe it's like 40 foot-pounds or something like that. There's quite a bit you want to put on there, and you can replace any of these bolts. They're readily available at any a dealership, and because a lot of these brake assemblies have been used over and over again for years, they haven't changed really any of the parts. The design is the same. I was a little surprised that it wasn't a two-piece assembly where you had a drum inside the actual rotor, because I've seen that in a lot of Toyota products and some Hondas. So, but these on this one, it is definitely just a caliper assembly. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten it up until I feel it. You'll feel it like where it goes, okay, I'm good. And you can see I have to use a crescent wrench on the inside. And sometimes you have to use a kind of a thin crescent wrench to fit on the inside because it'll turn. There's 2 bolts. So same thing, I'll tighten it up. And I'll watch that inside nut and see if it turns. If it does, you got to get that wrench in there and kind of turn them against each other. And then once that's good, I think we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and move everything out of the way. Make sure it's all clear. Bring the wheel back in. You can always put the wheel under the car too. That's always a good idea, because if the car falls, it's going to fall on the wheel versus falling on you. All right, so you want to tighten up the bolt by hand first so it's locked in, and then you use impact wrench. Do not use an impact wrench to tighten it to get the nuts on the wheel. So there we go, all assembled and all good. Thanks for watching again. I'm hoping to have more videos up soon. Apologize, I know it's been a little while using a torque wrench like you should. I don't use the impact wrench to tighten all the way up. I use a torque wrench to do my file tightening. Anyways, thanks for watching.